आधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Yeah, there's no hope. Don't worry. Anybody wants to make lots of money, just develop an Iskcon-proof microphone stand. The whole world will beat a path to your door. I worked in the music business. These things last forever in every other place I've ever been. Anyway, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 46, text number 15, right? Bhagavatam? Yes, 15. This is when Uddhava, on Krishna's instruction, goes to visit the 13-year-old gopis in Vrindavan to find out really what love of Krishna is all about. I'm telling the truth. That's how old they were. Anywhere from 11 to 13, 14 years old. Yeah. So, as the Bible says, and the trial will lead them. Keep that in mind, especially when you become a teenager. More so into that. Save your parents all that grief. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhojitam Paramanena Shambhishtam Kashibhav Sukam Gata Shramam Paryaprichat Pada Samba Hadadibi Bhojitam Baramanena Samvistam Gasipau Sukham Gata Shamam Paraprichat Pada Samvadanadibi Bhojitam Baramanena Sangvistam Kashipau Sukham Gata Simam Paraprichat Pada Samvahanadibi. Please chant. Mateis. gopis. Bojitam, fed, parama anena, with first-class food. Sangvitam, seated. Kashipam, on a nice bed. Sukham, comfortably. Gata, relieved. Sramam, of fatigue. Parayaprichat, he inquired. Pada, of his feet. Samvadana, with massaging. Adibihi, and so on. After Uddhava had eaten first-class food, been seated comfortably on a bed, and been relieved of his fatigue by a foot massage and other means, Nanda inquired from him as follows. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami mentions that Nanda had a servant massage Uddhava's feet, since Uddhava was Nanda's nephew. Okay, so let's repeat this first, because it's really nice. If you could just learn to remember this is how you actually greet someone, in accordance to Maharaj's wonderful class yesterday all about rasa, this relationship, this intermingling of emotion between living entities, right? Okay, so after Uddhava had eaten first-class food, been seated comfortably on a bed, and been relieved of his fatigue by a foot massage and other means, Nanda inquired from him as follows. So the purport, Jiva Goswami mentions that Nanda had a servant massage Uddhava's feet, since Uddhava was Nanda's nephew. Why? So? Exactly. Exactly. Because Nanda is a senior position, it would have made Uddhava uncomfortable to have his uncle massage his feet, so he had a servant do it. I mean, who's going to refuse a foot massage when you've been traveling all over Vraja barefooted, and you come home to Nanda Maharaj. So we see that this is a carryover of what Maharaj was mentioning yesterday and what the verse was mentioning yesterday, that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda were practically lifeless during this period of time when Krishna left. They just knew he was never coming back. It's described that neither one of them were sleeping because their face was constantly wet from tears, missing Krishna. They knew it was inevitable in the sense that they brought him to his real parents. And they did know that. And as Garga Muni gave hints to what was going on, and it was obvious when they got there what was happening. They're intelligent, very intelligent people, these Brijbasis. They're village people. And therefore they did not necessarily have a formal education, but it's not that they weren't educated. Everything in the village is relationship. Right? Even in Gujarat, even now, and Krishna was a Gujarati, according to Prabhupada. Told Dr. Patel that. Vasudeva was from Saurashtra. That's Gujarat, right? Yeah, she's from there too. But, so everybody is called a bhai or a ben or an uncle or an auntie or a grandmother, or no matter who they are, according to rank, they simply, as if they were family, right? It's very sweet. And we saw that even when Srila Prabhupada first visited Surat and other places with the devotees, from the West, no one in India ever received them the way the Gujaratis did. They were just everywhere in the street. And they would offer garlands again and again and again to all the devotees. So they were covered up to their neck, and then they'd have to take them off, and they would feed them very nicely. They would just treat them like, visiting, well, from these days, like Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant and, those guys play basketball and football and what have you, They worship them like that, They used to have a festival in Houston, and the Rockets would come and shoot baskets with kids, and everybody would just be gathered around like anything, So then they've replaced, as Prabhupada said a few verses ago, they've replaced. Wait, no, not true. That was what we were reading from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam in Keshav Bharati Maharaj's rooms. Mentioned that we replace these saintly persons as our worshipable objects with entertainers and sports athletes and etc. in this Kali Yuga. So rasa is practically lost between individual persons. But at least as devotees, we should learn what the Bhagavatam says is rasa, is relationship between the devotees. If a devotee comes to visit you, at least let him in your house. I've knocked on devotees' doors, and they stand with the screen door shut. What do you want, Prabhu? And I'm like, wow, now I have to think about that. Because at least in my house, and I'm not saying that I'm some big proponent of devotional service and like that, but I won't talk to devotees if they stand outside my door. I won't. They have to come into my house if they want to talk to me. I won't talk to them. And obviously, being in America, they become adjusted to not walking into somebody's house. We have a neighbor. Every morning I go and walk in their house and bring them Maharaj's laundry or some prasadam or some kind of thing like that, Because she chastised me. She said, why do you knock and ring the bell? Just walk in. You know it's not locked. Okay. I can adjust. But that's how it should be. Why should we buy into the fear-mongering that the media and the politicians are propagating in this country? And practically speaking, all over the world. I mean, it's not that it wasn't happening. As we go through these next verses, which I'm not going to touch because I think it's a whole conversation, this inquiry that Nanda Maharaj gives to a request of Uddhava. And it's all about, Kamsa's being killed and Kamsa's brothers being killed and all these different things from all this political fear that permeated the Mathura Vrindavan area, right? Because everybody was afraid, right? It was horrible. I mean, if your king can, first of all, defeat all the demons, major demons in India, and bring them all under his leadership, and then, just out of fear, kill all of his nephews, I mean, who wouldn't be afraid of such a person? They don't have feelings. And if we go back some chapters after Krishna appears, right? Kamsa goes and sees his sister, and he says, you really shouldn't feel any enmity towards me because I killed your children. Because, see, this is your karma. And I'm just Maya's instrument and acting out your karma that your own brother should kill off all your children. How do you do that? I mean, my goodness. But this is another rasa, ghastliness or whatever, But he spoke very sweetly, very nice, and in fact, correct philosophy to appease his sister's distress. I mean, wrong person, wrong time, but this is how things develop in the Bhagavatam. Right? We had a long discussion a few days ago about Queen Kunti's prayers. Please bring me these distresses. Right? Does devotees want distress? No. Do they get it? Yes. Why? Because we took birth in this material world. There's a karmic problem there. Most of us, one can, just guess, that didn't come here just because Krishna wanted us to help out Prabhupada's Iskcon movement after his departure. We may have, I don't know, but one could postulate that it's probably doubtful that anybody thinks that or feels that, even though Srila Prabhupada would say, Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there on the planet? He said, how many devotees do we have in Iskcon? That's a Vaishnava. Prabhupada was that pure devotee. He could see all of his disciples, forget all their faults, and just think they've joined me on the order of my spiritual master to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. And look what they did. You watch this video that's playing over here. I was there, Govinda Dasi, dear friend of our family, was speaking. And she said Prabhupada would just spin the globe and look at it in the morning. She was his first secretary for 1 year. She said it wasn't like it was a big job. He had maybe 10 letters a day. But 10 letters a day with only maybe 30 devotees meant that everybody was asking Prabhupada, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And Prabhupada would look at the globe and just think, Gaura Sundar, you should go to Japan. Gargamuni, you should go to Bangladesh. This one should go here. This one should go here. And as Govinda Dasi relates it, she says, we were teenagers. We didn't even know what we were doing any given day. And he's thinking, I think I'll send you off to this country, and I think I'll send you off to this country. And in this way, we'll spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Now, that's someone that comes on behalf of Krishna to do a particular thing. And we see that he is completely empowered to spread Krishna consciousness, even on the strength of disciplic succession, twice removed, thrice removed. Huh? It's amazing that this Iskcon movement continues out of love and devotion for Srila Prabhupada. I mean, maybe we all just have, myself excluded from that, we just have love for Krishna naturally. I don't. That I'm pretty certain of. If it wasn't for my sister-in-law being a doctor, I wouldn't be overly convinced I had a heart. But she checks it every now and then. She says there's one in there, everything's cool. But this is the power of actual devotion, love for Krishna. This is the power. Prabhupada had love for Krishna. And with that love, he empowered his disciples to push forward this movement in incomprehensible acts of surrender. I mean, who would have thought, let me send 3 newly made devotee couples to London, one of which has a baby, infant, and I'll just send them to preach at London. I'll send a group so they will help each other. And what happened? When they had the Rath Yatra, what happened? The newspaper said that the Jagannath cart basically outshone the Nelson's column there in Trafalgar Square. That was the headline. Just 3 20-something couples. You know? Who could have thought of that? Who would think that would be success? But Prabhupada knew they loved him. I asked one devotee, how did all that happen? I keep reading these memoirs, Jamuna's biography and Shyam Sundar's memoirs and Bhakti Charu Maharaj's memoirs and so many other devotees from that time, Guru Das, Mukunda Goswami. I said, what happened? And one Mataji said, well, you know, everyone just gave 100%. No less than that. All the devotees just gave everything to serve Krishna, to serve Prabhupada. Of course, then she smiled and said, it's been a really long time since I've given 100%. She can speak from that because she experienced it. So, we're talking about Uddhava here. Like back some verses, it described how qualified Uddhava was. He was Krishna's cousin, the son of Vasudev's brother. Someone mentioned yesterday? You mentioned it, right? Yeah, so he was Krishna's cousin, his family. And he looked like Krishna. And he would only dress in Krishna's discarded garments. So he, even from a distance, when the gopis saw him, they thought, wow, Krishna's come back. Can you imagine their disappointment? But at the same time, because then Radharani goes after this bumblebee. What happened? Where did Krishna go? Why he's not here? And Uddhava is watching this going, wow, this is not exactly what I expected when I came here, but this is what happens when one loves Krishna. You're not any longer an ordinary person. You've gone way beyond that when you love Krishna. So we're sadhakas. We should be happy. We're chanting Hare Krishna, 16 rounds a day, following the regular principles. Generally coming to the morning program, right? Some days, most days, any day. Prabhupada was real emphatic about that morning program thing. You know, he wrote an amazing letter to Yadubar regarding his filming. The BBT was financing his filming Prabhupada and Iskcon movements and different things like that. And in this letter, encouraging him to take up this service and work diligently and work under that authority of the BBT and etc. And then he goes to the last paragraph, he says, but you should come to the morning program, Mangalarti, chant all your rounds very nicely, 16 rounds. And he took the time out of this letter to encourage him in this great, powerful service of spreading Krishna consciousness through film, and said, but, you know, you need to also just stick to your own personal spiritual development. Huh? He was very emphatic about that. It's important. The movement's much bigger now. Grihastas have their problems, and we do. It's no doubt about that. But somehow we have to make time for Prabhupada's vision of advancing in Krishna consciousness. Somehow or other. You know, it's not always easy. I mean, I live a half a block from the temple, and some days it's really hard to walk here. And you know, you get to the temple and you think, why was that a problem? You know, it's amazing. But anyway, we should try, because then we're associating while chanting Hare Krishna, while singing the glories of the spiritual masters. Morning program is not like anything anywhere in the world. This is a Srila Prabhupada Iskcon specific way to spend your morning. And what do? We sandwich our japa between two big slices of Guru Shmaranam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Gurvastakam, Samsaradava Nana Lila, Vande Guru. I worship and offer my obeisance to the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Right? Isn't that true? And then we chant our japa, worship Tulsi Devi, you know, chant our japa, and then we go back and sing what Narottam Das Thakur realized from his spiritual master, Lokanath Goswami, who I think he was about his only disciple, right? Nantam? Lokanath Maharaj's only disciple, right? So he so loved his spiritual master that his spiritual master literally was forced to initiate him so that he wouldn't go off and jump into the Jamuna and drown in despondency. Huh? It's quite remarkable. Take time to enter into our Vaishnava history. We may not be at that level, but gosh, we really, really, really need to use these examples that we have. I mean, I'm as horribly critical as, well, I'm actually more horribly critical than just about anybody I know. However, we don't think we have local examples. Just look at these beautiful paintings of the 5 most recent acharyas, right? Acharya is a slightly different level than your basic guru, which is not to say that the guru is ever basic. For every disciple, the guru is their life. Don't ever, ever let anyone convince you they aren't. They can there's lots of philosophical considerations, the stratification of spiritual masters and devotees and advancement and this, that, and the other. But for the disciple, his spiritual master, her spiritual master is their life. Nothing less than that. And if you're not thinking that, go back to the drawing board. Get those japa beads out. Chant another 16 rounds that day and see if that changes your opinion. You know, why not? It's the medicine, right? It is the medicine. You know, it's the therapy. It's what we do. But I often, I don't know, devotees that come here, I don't know if they notice that I sometimes in the morning, I actually turn my back to the deity so I can look at these acharyas, because at one point, right there around the turn of the century, all 5 of them were present on the planet. And each one of them contributed to what was required for Srila Prabhupada to save the world. They were all moving in that direction. The clarity that the Babajis had, Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, and what is Maya, why we don't involve ourselves in it, how are we going to get free from it, was the driving principle behind Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada's desire to go out into the world and spread Krishna consciousness, to give this philosophy out to everyone. Right? Bhakti Vinod Thakur started writing books and distributing them en masse around Bengal. He'd mail them out to McGill University, to London, all these different places. Bhakti Siddhanta, same thing. He continued printing. He printed a magazine, The Harmonist, right? And that magazine wound up in London, many, many copies of it. And Shamsundar Prabhu found them and brought them to Srila Prabhupada. And he said, oh, I remember this poem that he wrote about his spiritual master on his disappearance day. Right? Vyasa Puja, but it was after he had disappeared, right? No, it's before, just before that. And Prabhupada said, oh, I thought this was lost. Where did you find it? Such a beautiful, poignant description of what it means to have a spiritual master who, I mean, from our perspective, Prabhupada considered saved him from Maya. From our perspective, we know that probably isn't exactly how it works. These were extraordinary personalities. Srila Prabhupada was factually empowered by Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to spread this mission all over the world. And it came at a time when it was feasible on a mechanical, material level. Air travel became popular. The Western devotees would do anything for Prabhupada. It wasn't ever official, right? Because we see in India there's a habit, and I'm not denigrating Indians, don't get me wrong. Yes, I have a guru, right? They get one from their family, right? In the neighborhood. Comes by, he's been initiating, his family's been initiating your family for generations, right? There's a barber down on the corner who's been cutting everybody's hair in that family for generations too. And it's not much different. It's official. Right? The Upanayana Samskara. It's done at a particular time in every boy's life and like that. And if you see them done even now, they practically make fun of the whole thing. It's really kind of interesting. But this was a very serious event. So we need to enter into this mood that the acharyas have established in the world for us to take strength in. I mean, you read the history of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and you just think, wow, how could one person have such an amazingly broad vision to spread this philosophy while raising 10 children? And having a very, very important job as a Supreme Court Justice. So he had time to begin the process of spreading the philosophy and the understanding and the realization of Krishna consciousness from the Babajis, who had Lord Chaitanya's mission in their heart. Right? They're Babajis. They don't go out to preach so much. By their example, by their individual one-on-one speaking, they were doing what they could. But the main thing is they kept this purity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire available for when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided it was time to change the world. And what kind of opposition are we getting? The world is becoming more and more horrible by the week now. I used to measure it by the year. Now by the week, more crazy things are going on in these various countries and companies and people around the world. I mean, we were at some place last night, and the guy in front of us is from Santa Fe, Texas, which just 2 weeks ago had a shooting. They had a private graduation at a stadium down there. I think it was yesterday or the day before. No one was allowed to come except for the people that were graduating and the teachers. The public wasn't allowed. Wow, how weird is that? These are high school kids, right? Their big day, as they say. The world's changing. It's getting worse. So we have to concentrate on saving ourselves by doing what Srila Prabhupada said. And to keep that fresh, we have to read the books that Prabhupada wrote, and also the ones that his empowered disciples wrote. Prabhupada didn't finish his work on the Bhagavatam, but he did stop in the middle of that and write the Chaitanya Charitamrita in full, complete glory. The Bhagavatam translations went on. Prabhupada went to his last breath, practically speaking, translating. But he empowered his disciples to preach on his behalf, and because there's many people out there that don't read past the Brahma Vimohana Leela that Prabhupada translated, because they say, well, those aren't Prabhupada's books. What does that say about our Guru Parampara? Is it supposed to stop? And there are people out there that think that. But these books are gold mines of understanding what is required in this age to go back to Godhead. This Srimad Bhagavatam, as Maharaj was speaking the other day, has words that don't appear in any other Shastra. Its beauty and uniqueness is just effulgent in the sense that it is not like some other book. It is Krishna himself in literary form. And when you go back and read the first canto, you realize that's what it is. The purports are astounding. The verses are so beautiful. And even we were in the, what was it, 4th and 5th chapter of the Bhagavatam when I was out in Colombia earlier in the year. And Narada Muni is preaching to Vyasadeva. I remember he becomes all despondent. I didn't do enough, something. Didn't know what to do. So the conversation there in the 4th and 5th chapters is quite amazing. 5th chapter, actually. And Vyasadeva in the Bhagavatam is identified as the person who assimilated the full Vedanta and then subdivided into 4 parts, the Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, and taught 4 of his disciples, one each of the 4th of the Veda, right? So we all hear that, and we all think, wow, that's really wonderful. But think about it. Vyasadeva, in the 5th chapter, is being preached to by Narada Muni. He says, we have to give back to Krishna everything that he has given us. Whatever it is that we have to give that to Krishna. What did Vyasadeva have? He was probably the last person on the planet, and according to the Bhagavatam, he is the last, but I'm not going to make such a bold statement, that understood the entire Vedanta. Because his disciples only understood 1/4 of it. Right? So Narada Muni is preaching to him about utilizing what you have to its full extent to spread Krishna consciousness. He's preaching to Vyasadeva like that. And when you read it, you get kind of caught up in these purports are long and very, very strong preaching by Srila Prabhupada. So you kind of get caught up in, I should give everything I have, is what's being taught here. But think back to what Vyasadeva has. He has full, complete realization of the entire Vedanta. All the Puranas, all the Itihasas, all the Vedas, he has full comprehension. Therefore, he gave that to the world, surrendered that to Krishna in the form of this Bhagavatam. Read it, and read it, and read it. Gradually, you will also understand it and realize it. No one can simply read this Bhagavatam and know what it's talking about. You have to read and read and read. As one Prabhu was telling me today, yes, there was a conversation yesterday and it inspired me. And then I got into it and I read these verses from the Bhagavad Gita and there's these, and and it was just like, Prabhupada said we should scrutinizingly read his books. This is realization. Scrutinizingly read his books. But read his books. Even if you can't scrutinize and get that meaning out of this verse and understand where Prabhupada's coming in from this purport or whatever, keep reading these books. It sinks in. It purifies the heart. Because when you read these words of Srimad Bhagavatam, you are directly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in your mind, in your intelligence, in your speech, in your sight. Read out loud, in your ears, your touch. You're directly communicating with Krishna in person. I mean, do I have any business speaking 10th Canto Bhagavatam? No. There it is. So what? You still have to speak something. Speak from your heart. There's a trap happening now due to electronic media and all the nice things that are out there. Our other guru, Google, Shri Google, Namo Namaste. My dear Google, I'm reading this verse from Srila Prabhupada's books. What else do you have to tell me about that? And you get little quips of things from all over the place. Right? And you can build this wonderfully technical, inspired class from information you've never realized. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that you have to be careful. Don't just fill up a class with information about Krishna. Shukadev Goswami heard the Bhagavatam from who? Vyasadeva, his father. But did he present it word for word to Maharaj Parikshit? Prabhu says no. Is there another opinion in the room? Maharaj is going, there's not another opinion. It's true, it's not. But what does Prabhupada say about Shukadev Goswami's repetition of the Bhagavatam? In the purport, he says, this is for the, I think I spoke about this a few weeks ago. It really stuck in my head. Of the 4th verse, after identifying the Bhagavatam for what it is, he said, Shukadev Goswami has spoken, this is part of the verse, in such a way that the entire world can understand the glories of Krishna. And Prabhupada writes that he so carefully presents this Bhagavatam that every living entity in this planet can become enlivened by the glories of Krishna. Anytime you want to wonder if it's worth it, just read that purport to the 4th verse of the Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse number 4. And if that doesn't make you want to read again, all of it, and it takes some time, it takes about a year to read the entire Bhagavatam. If you just read 41 pages a day, about an hour and a half. Make it easy. Maybe you're not a Sanskritist, just read the English. 41 pages a day, you can read the entire 90 chapters of the 10th canto, the 12 cantos of the Bhagavatam, all of that, every year for the rest of your life. 41 pages a day. Vaisheshika Prabhu Ki Jai. He figured all that out. How do you read something as large as the Bhagavatam? By reading 41 pages every day. That's all. It's not that complicated. If you don't have time for that, well, bummer. Read 20 and a half pages, and you'll get it done in 2 years. That's not bad. I bet by the end of that 2nd year, you'll start thinking, yeah, I could do this in 1 year. I mean, dang, who doesn't like a challenge? And if you read the Bhagavatam every year, if I've done that, I've already read it many times, 40 years. 40 different times I'd have read the Bhagavatam. Do you think something would sink in by then? There's chances that it would. Even me. Even me. But I tell you one thing that I can say for all the years that I've been here and all the years that so many other devotees that I really relish their association. Hanukkah Rishaka Swami, Keshavarti Maharaj, all the devotees that come through here that have been devotees a long time and really given their life to preaching. I gave my life to trying to raise a couple of delinquents into devotees, but we succeeded well enough as far as I'm concerned. But it's up to them to do the rest. So, but they have realization of why we have to preach Krishna consciousness, first and foremost to ourselves. Right? We have a mind, intelligence, and false ego, and we have to keep them in their proper place and their proper perspective, right? So that we advance and we become that touchstone that Lord Chaitanya says everyone in the universe should become. Lord Chaitanya specifically said everyone in the universe should preach these glories of the Nam Sankirtan in Kali Yuga. So that means everyone, right? That means everyone in this room, everyone in the city of Houston, the country of America, India. Actually, he said it specifically about Indians too. Everyone born in Bharatvarsh have a duty to preach this philosophy of Nam Sankirtan. Because they do. They have pious credits, they have a nature, they have so many advantages that other people in the world don't have. We have to learn this stuff. You're born with good amount of these qualities that Nanda Maharaj and Uddhava are exhibiting between each other. Huh? And therefore, it really is your duty to set a higher example. And that starts with having Krishna consciousness yourself. And with that, you can't help but have compassion. Everything in the Bhagavatam is a story to help us love Krishna more, to love Krishna's devotees more. Everything, all of it, nothing else. That's why the Bhagavatam is here. To save humanity, the misguided human beings on this planet during Kali Yuga. So let's get serious, folks. Because I need a lot of help myself. I'm not very serious. I'm certainly not very compassionate. I spend as little time with other people as I can these days. But that has to change. And all of us. Any questions? Comments, Maharaj? Thank you. Anyone else? Question? Talking to your mother. Oh, you have one? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I wanted to know, dealing with there's the 10 principles, right, of chanting, correct?
There's what?
The 10 principles of chanting.
Okay.
You know, chanting, yeah, non-imaginative chanting. One of the 9 is imaginative, right? So what exactly do you mean when it says no imaginative, I guess, thinking when you chant?
So the question is, one of the 10 offenses is to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna's imagination. Right? Yeah? Everybody knows that one? Right? Well, too bad. One devotee is shaking their head. No, not me, man. I don't know anything about that. Well, no, what that means is that we don't add something beyond what Scripture is regarding these mantras. And specifically, Prabhupada was very emphatic that one should not chant mantras which were not given by the Sampradaya. So even at one point, there's one mantra, two different stories about this mantra, which is all names of Krishna. Hey Nata Nata, what is it? Hari Murari, Hey Nata Nata, Narayana Vasudevaya. It's in Prabhupada's books. He puts it in one of his purports. Even. Yeah, that one, okay. Yeah, I'm completely good about not remembering that. But Prabhupada, so the devotees were chanting it, actually. And Prabhupada said, why are you chanting this mantra? Well, Prabhupada, it's in your books. He said, but I've not given it to you. And he stopped them. He said, you have to hear this. You have to be given this by your Sampradaya Guru to chant. And then one other time, one other person introduced it in Los Angeles. And Tamal Krishna Goswami got in a lot of trouble for chanting that. He says, what? I have not given you mantra? I have given you Hare Krishna mantra. It is a Maha mantra. So like that, we don't try to imagine, like we don't chant Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Even though Hare means Radharani, Krishna's internal potency. But we don't change the mantra. And we hear made-up mantras here in this temple on a regular basis. No offense to those who do it, but I'm not the mantra police, so think about it. If you're chanting mantras other than Hare Krishna mantra, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, our songbooks like that, you're not supposed to, period. Do that one day if you want to check it, just whenever Jayadvaita Maharaj is visiting, chant one of those mantras, see what happens. I've seen him walk out. He's over about midway through the lobby here. And he goes, they're making up these mantras. And he turns around and goes back and stops the devotee right in the middle of his kirtan. Just because it sounds pretty doesn't mean it's bona fide. Just because it's Krishna's names doesn't mean you should be chanting it. So these are imaginations. Oh, I'm chanting this. I was just in Colombia, and there's another group there. There's a big split that happened there many, many years ago. And they chant all kind of interesting mantras during Kirtan. But if that's what they're supposed to do, that's their business. But it makes sure that they're different from us. Like this boy was chanting the Kirtan, Namo Mahapadanyaya Krishna Prima Padai. Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. But they chant mantras like this. These are wonderful prayers in glorification of Sri Krishna, but it's not our mantra. It's not the mantra that Lord Chaitanya gave us. I mean, the other Maha mantra is, and I can never chant this right, Hare Yaraya Nama Krishna, Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govindaram, Shrimadhusudan. Right, Maharaj? Those two mantras. It's the first line of the first two verses of that Srinam Sankirtan that Narottam Das Thakur presents. First one and then the next one, right? First and third, yeah. So like that. And this is, Lord Chaitanya would chant that. But Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Why did he say that? Because we're not very intelligent. We are covered over by our material modes of nature. We have Mandasumanda Matayo, Manjubhagya. We're crazy. We're weak-minded. We're weak-bodied. We're like everything wrong physically and mentally and intellectually. So keep it nice and simple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 3 words, 4 lines, 16 syllables. It's geometrically very pleasing, right? So keep it up. Just chant that. And one time Prabhupada said, oh, so you want another? I'll give you one. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. And then one other time he chanted another mantra. Who can tell me? What is the third mantra Prabhupada gave us? Ooh. Sariyada Vijaya. Everybody loves Prashadam. It's time. Huh? Huh? No, in Kirtan. One other mantra he chanted one time. Los Angeles. Raghupati Raghava. Right? Rajaram. I don't say Raghupati Raghava. Rajaram. Patita Pavana Sita Ram. He chanted that also. Gave us that. 3 mantras. So make yourself happy. And then sing everything in the songbooks. What the heck? You know? Yeah. But Kirtan is one thing. Bhajan is another. Keep our Kirtans nice and simple. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Panchatattva Mantra, Raghupati Raghava, like that. And I mean, somewhere along the line, you know, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya, and I like to chant that in Kirtan myself. Yes, Gopi Devi. Can you push that switch up and ask that again?
Within the Hare Krishna mantra, there are so many other tunes, and sometimes some tunes don't bring devotion to some people, and maybe, I don't know, but are there any rules for what kinds of tunes you're supposed to sing?
There's ragas in music, and certain ragas, certain tunes are appropriate to certain parts of the day. We have to be a little careful with that. Indra Prabhu went off the reservation with that for a while. Then he kind of came back to Sinner at some other point. He was really into this, each raga, every which point section of which part of the day, and that was a whole big thing in Vrindavan for a while, in the Nandakanda Kirtan. But he moved back towards just nice melodic Kirtan. No, there's really not any restrictions, but there are certain tunes that Prabhupada would chant, and they're accepted as the tune for Mangalartik and things like that. But no, especially in bhajan, chant any kind of way you want. I personally chant on guitar a lot because I can't sing worth a flip, but I can play rhythm guitar and sing somewhere inside of there, and I can't translate that into kirtan chanting with kartals and drama. It doesn't connect with me. I'm part of the Iskcon Houston Seniors Club of the Musically Challenged, and we don't have a lot of capacity for things like that. So, but you sing very beautifully, so keep doing that. And people will melt on the sidewalks. I mean, they melt here anyway, but they'll actually stop long enough so you can watch them melt while they're hearing you chant beautifully like that. So it's really part of it. We should just chant nicely without putting our ego into it. Like probably one of the most talented, musically talented singers I've ever heard in my life, I mean, I've heard quite a few, I worked in the music business, is Agni Dev. And there is absolutely and has never been any ego that he lets seep in to his chanting of Hare Krishna, particularly in kirtan form. And you can go all the way back to the beginning with him, and he just doesn't do it. And he is enormously talented musically, but it doesn't interrupt his presentation of kirtan, because he chants for the pleasure of Krishna. We have to chant in such a way that we please Krishna. And if we do that, everyone that hears that mantra will be purified and uplifted. So just keep the ego out of the way and chant beautiful, sweet tunes, and you'll be fine.
How can we tell if someone's chanting for the pleasure of Krishna or not? Like, who should we listen to in terms of kirtan? Like,
now that's a really long list that she's not going to let me give because it's time for breakfast. And Maharaj, could you please add to this? She's your disciple. Yeah, well, when you can tell is when you actually become enlivened by just hearing the mantra without intellectualizing it or dissecting it musically. You just hear the chanting and it's like, wow, there's potency there. Because many of our chanters in Krishna consciousness aren't necessarily musically professionally trained vocalists, but it doesn't seem to matter. People hear the Hare Krishna mantra out there and it sticks with them. If you ever in public and you want to know a mantra that always works, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Proof in that is that I spent a lot of time in Colombia. We had a lot of fun there. But there was a bicyclist there that saw an advertisement that if you want to This is some idea that Mother Vrinda that's visiting here came up with. They advertised, why don't you spend time staying at the Hare Krishna temple and you can do some service and we'll feed you and give you a place to live. So he was cycling through Colombia all the way down. His plan is to go all the way down to Argentina or somewhere. So he thought, wow, that sounds easy, cheap. I get a place to live, some food to eat. And, new experience. Here I am in Colombia riding a bike. He's from England. So he was staying in the temple a few days. He called up his parents, and he was saying, yeah, I'm staying over at the Hare Krishna temple. Oh, really? His father said, you mean Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna? Because I mentioned it in class, that everybody knows this tune. He says, yeah, my father, you know, I don't know where he got it from, but yeah, he immediately started chanting that tune when I said I was staying at the Hare Krishna temple. Like that. That's a given. It's the safest tune. Prabhupada used to chant it. It's the same tune he chanted in Tompkins Square Park, the first kirtan that ever happened in public. Right? Anytime you want to see somebody jump and dance, you just start chanting that tune. They can't help it. They can't. No one can fight off that tune ever. But that's the idea. Just please Krishna, and everyone else becomes pleased. Because you chant in the public, people don't know what you're chanting. They don't know what it means, but and particularly, you'll see children stop. We used to chant outside of the zoo, and everybody'd be walking, and their kid would just put on the brakes, and the parent would, whoa, you know, and they just stop and listen to the kirtan. They're not intellectualizing it. It's affecting their heart. So yeah, you sing nicely, but sing nicely for Krishna. And then your ego won't interrupt. You know. But you have to stop rolling your eyes when you're chanting. Looks like your parents are talking to you, you know. Don't do that. Just chant for Krishna. You ever think you're getting off base, just shut your eyes and visualize Krishna, the deity, any temple that you want. It's easy. Once you see Radha Nila Madhava, I don't know you can ever really completely not call him up anytime you want. They're pretty astounding, beautiful deities, very unique in Iskcon and in the world, actually. That's a whole nother long story. So, any other questions? Just keep it simple, pure. Everything. Read these books. If you read these books, it's always something fresh and new, so you can't possibly think you know more than Krishna if you read these books. All right? Yantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Thank you all.